Well, cheers. Podcast number 1.
Indeed.
Of hopefully many. I don't expect this, as we talked about before. Don't expect anything out of this. Just a nice outlet to get thoughts out, and if anyone listens to it, hopefully it can help them out.
Yep.
For anyone that wants to listen, but we'll probably keep it focused towards young men, just because I think that's probably
It's a demographic we understand.
it's the only demographic that we might be able to assist. Conversation, or the topic, is red flags pre-relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, this is a very broad topic. You could run a podcast just on this topic, or red flags in general. But we'll try to keep it to pre-relationship. For some context, correct me where I'm wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You met a gal in high school. You guys dated, broke up, dated again.
Yep.
For the remainder of high school, college, got married.
Broke it off in high school. 4 years, wasn't with her.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then you guys got back together in your college years.
Yep.
Were married for 6 years?
Just had our 5th wedding anniversary.
Oh yeah, good,
Yeah.
good. And then she recently, in the last
year,
ended things with you.
Mm-hmm.
But that was about 10-year relationship?
Yeah, in total, start to finish, add it all up, about 9-10 years.
And and from my perspective, very bad choice on her part. Obviously no one's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the intricacies of your relationship.
Sure.
But we've known each other for 17 years.
Something in that ballpark, yeah.
We've known each other a long time. I've known her a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Decided to leave you. Obviously that's big.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but there's a lot to learn in that.
yeah, but so you have an idea
Mm-hmm.
of what you're talking about.
Sure, I have some experience, right?
Me, on the other hand, I've had no successful long-term relationships. 33 years old. I think my longest relationship was a year.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very hard to be with, but I've also been with some very bad eggs.
Sure.
And a lot of them have been my fault. So, I guess from your perspective, red flags before you get into a relationship.
Yeah, man. So I think what I want to throw out there right out of the gate is there's a lot of red flags, right? A lot of things can be indicators, but the red flag in and of itself is not the determiner of whether a relationship will work. So for anybody that is listening, if you see these red flags, that's not indicating that you should not pursue the relationship. These are just pre-indicators that you may have concerns down the road. That would be my statement. Because just because the red flag exists does not mean you can't work through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So as a pre-indicator of the first thing that I would say is going to be your biggest red flag, starts with family. So, and this is, you can, all of this can be stated for the person you are looking for, but also you can take a reflect and look at yourself in this and see where are these things impacting. So for family, the first and probably biggest thing to me for a successful relationship is the person I'm pursuing. Does their family still stay together? So are their parents married? That is like number one big red flag to me. Again, not an indicator of successful anything, but
Yeah, and not across. Obviously, there's nuance to everything.
Right.
But,
but of a pre-indicator, if their family isn't still together, that tells me that they don't have the same setup as somebody who has their family still married and together.
And kind of a little caveat on that.
Mm-hmm.
I would say it'd be better for a mature separated family. Yeah. I think it would be better to be with someone from a maturely separated family versus
Childhood separation.
no, an immaturely still together family.
Ooh.
You know what I mean? Like if it's a miserable relationship but they're still together, I would take the, hey, we're just not meant for each other, the parents split up.
I would have to think on that one because I'm not entirely sure I agree. You could be onto something there for sure.
Because at least they learned a mature way to go about your life.
I would say as a general rule though, most often like marriages, relationships when they're ending, they don't end in a mature manner.
Not usually, no.
Not usually. Most of the time it's not that case. Yeah. So just as a right out of the gate, boom.
General rule of thumb.
That's going to be your first one, is just, is this person coming from a broken or together family? See, and there's plenty of problems with together families, kind of like you're alluding to. But just as a, hey, let's take note. That's step number one. Step number two for me, does this person have a functional friend group? Okay? Yeah, so this is gonna... This one took me a long time to figure out, because when I was looking for relationships, that didn't really matter to me, because I was looking to fill a hole that I had with a relationship. So... it didn't matter if that person also had friends. In fact, I wasn't even looking for that. I'm like, who can take up most of my time, right? But that in and of itself shows that that person's looking for a one-size-fits-all type person. They want you for most everything because they don't have other places to get other means by. And when your relationship is everything, it is bound to fail in some aspect. Okay, you need to have nuance and different friendship relationships outside of just your marriage. So
you have to have a balanced life.
100%. Yep. Which balance is an interesting topic. I don't think balance actually exists, but that's an entirely different thing. I think there's seasons of life, right? And in each season you have to have a balance for what you're aiming at in that season, but that's a different conversation. Yeah, so I know that when I was looking for relationships, and I found someone that had no friends, right? Like little to no friends. And the friends they did have were not great friends. They were the occasional friend. So what they need, when you're in a relationship, you can't just bounce everything off of the one person. You need other people in your life to get different inputs, different takes on situations. So when that person is coming to you for literally everything, it's just going to wear, it's going to put stress on things. It's going to make breaking points, and it's going to make you feel like you have to fit everything, and it's going to break you down. It's not effective and not functional. So, family, friendships, right? So really what I'm getting at is you have to have a sense of community as a human being. If you don't have that, then when you are searching for other aspects, you're going to have breakdowns and failures across everything. Those are my two big ones right out of the gate anyways. There's plenty more, but those are the two biggest indicators of just initiation to potential failures.
Yeah, that's really interesting because we had talked about doing this a few days ago. And so I just been dabbling, thinking about. I didn't really think about that. I was thinking about more specific traits. I didn't think about it from the broader perspective, which is really good.
Yep,
that's really good. Yeah,
so in that, I mean, there's plenty of specific traits that are really, really indicative. I guess, which ones are the high hitters in your mind?
The first one being just a shitty person.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't mean they're out, jacking cars and murdering people and, raping people. Like, I'm just saying, like, when it's 9:50 p.m. And you're hungry, and you want Arby's, and you see that they close in 10 minutes, and you say, hey, let's go somewhere else. There's 10 restaurants that are open for another 2 hours. These guys at Arby's, they've got everything cleaned up. They're staring at that
ready
clock.
To be done.
And they do one of these things.
To me, that's like consideration for other people, right?
Correct.
Yep.
This might not be correct, but I believe sociopaths have difficulty or cannot feel what other people are feeling. And that's an indicator of that. And I guess, how do they act? Like, what are they coming from? how are they acting towards you? Like, what is their current situation, and how are they acting towards you in that? So, for example, this one should be an automatic. Like, obviously, when we're young, lonely, horny, or just naive, we see an attractive person or someone that we are attracted to, and we're just like, oh, they love me. It's like, yeah, they have a partner, but they're flirting with me, so they must want me more. It's like, well, guess what, dude? Like, and I'm sure a lot of people make this mistake early on, but this should be like known across mankind. Like, and you hear it all the time. If they're cheating on them with you, they're going to cheat on you. You know, they're clearly just thinking about themselves, and it's one of those things that, are they someone who continually cares about themselves? And like, obviously you want someone who cares about themselves. No one's going to look out for us. Like, as an individual, you've got to get your life in order. You've got to be responsible for yourself. You've got to hold your job. You got to, we want people to take care of themselves, be clean, be hygienic. You have to have your responsibilities squared away. But once you've got everything in your life squared away to a sustainable point, like, that's when you start looking outwards, like, hey, I've got extra energy. Like, who can I help? How can I help? How can I better the world? Like, how can I live a fulfilling life? But when they get to that point where, like, I got all my ducks in a row, and I could help people, but I just want to accrue more from people, just, are they a shitty person?
Right. And to run off of that, what I'm seeing here, and what I agree with at least, would be, you have selfishness versus selflessness, right? So can you see a sense of selflessness in this person that you're aiming at, right? And even for that matter, in yourself, you got to take an introspective look, right? So are you being in a selfish nature or in a selfless nature? Now, it's not to say that there isn't something, as you're stating, you need to be able to take care of yourself. There needs to be a time where you are prioritizing yourself over others, but that needs to be entirely measured and honestly not the priority. Selflessness should be more prevalent in your life than selfishness. So, and really what that comes down to is kind of like two ways to look at life. You're either looking at life from the lens of humility and service, or pride and self-fulfillment, right?
Self-gratification.
Exactly. Again, not that making yourself happy and doing things that make you happy is a bad thing, but if you're looking at yourself from a prideful standpoint of, this is what I want, this is what I need, I earn this, I deserve this. The word deserve, if somebody uses the word deserve too much, chalk that up on a thing. That one is seriously one that burns in me. When I hear somebody say the statement, I deserve, there are so few things that we deserve in life. So few things. Like, literally, we barely even deserve to get up in the morning. Like, it is bare minimum. Now, we do it because it's part of life and we need to, and that's part of the betterment of life that we live. But when somebody has a mindset of, I deserve X, Y, Z, right there, indicator. That is a self-focusing, prideful person. Whereas if you're looking at, I may not deserve this, I'm grateful for having this, and I want to share it with others. That's a much better perspective to have.
Yep, I agree.
Any other top-hitting red flags for you?
Yeah. I know that there's others that are more important, but something that's very prevalent in this day and age with social media and technology, and just the amount of quick communication. Someone who, I guess, stepping back one step, someone who is really focused on their beauty.
Vanity.
Excuse me. It almost ties into the deserving thing, where, like, and the shitty person thing, where they feel like they don't need to treat people good, or they deserve things because they are so much better in their mind than everyone else. Beauty, are they too beautiful? And I don't mean like just a naturally gorgeous person. We all want that naturally, that gorgeous person.
We are searching for a beautiful person.
Yeah, the person that takes care of themselves. But it's like, you hear guys say this all the time, like, I think girls look better with less makeup. And I'm using females as an example here because they're the more beautiful gender. Yeah. But when you get a girl that can't leave the house without doing everything for 2 hours, this and this, it's like, maybe that's not indicative of a bad person, but it might be, but it's almost certainly indicative of
some level of self-consciousness, for sure.
Some like really deep-rooted insecurity, which will probably come to bear pretty nasty fruit in the future.
Oh, without doubt. Yeah, insecurity is a tough one, because that one... So I think the reason I started with the family and friends is because those are the roots of most of these. So the insecurity is most likely coming from some level of familial damage. Most every human being has a level of trauma, whether it's acute or passive. Acute being like, you were abused as a child or whatever it was, or you were sexually molested or something like that. Those are very acute traumas. Now, if you're neglected as a child, that might not seem like you have trauma, but that's a sustained trauma over time. That's going to have an impact on your current life. A resulting factor of that is you could have a self-confidence issue because nobody ever affirmed some aspect of your nature. You were looking for some level of affirmation, never received it, so your resulting thought was, I'm not worthy because of X, Y, Z. So, yes, again, it is totally an indicator, and those are things that people need to work on, right? Like, I think the deep-seated statement of this entire discussion is really, these are things that you can find in people. The real indicator of if they do not matter at all is this person trying to become aware of these things? And are we actively trying to better ourselves in those things? It's not to say that you're going to get a whole lot better. Just, are you working towards that? Are you working towards understanding what the issues are that you personally have? And then are you willing to do something about it to address those issues? I think that's something that most of society likes to think we do. Like, we all like to think that, I'm becoming a better person and whatever it is. Often we're not. Or really, we're just not taking a hard look at things. We may be bettering ourselves in like tangible ways, like, I learned this new skill, or I'm doing better at my job, or whatever it is. But those are like passive things to better yourself at. They're not bad by any means. But if you're taking time and looking at your own mental development, that's a different aspect. That's saying, hey, where do I have flaws and where can I make improvement on? And then the where is great, but the how is the important part. Because if you know something, that's half the battle, but doing something about it is the other half. Which oftentimes people will understand, like for my acute case, the person I was married to was very aware of all of the years and years of trauma that she sustained. And we thought that we were dealing with them in effective ways. Like, there were plenty of ways that we dealt with them in very healthy ways. And there's other ways that I am now acutely and grossly aware that we were not dealing with them. We were more or less just ignoring them because we understood that those were real, but we didn't do the part of, now what do we do about them? So just taking that deeper look as to, this may be an issue, what do I do about this issue? So I think a lot of people just like to passively continue to live their life and maybe work on tangible, notable skills and not so much do a deeper dive on how do I better myself mentally as an individual that can contribute to a relationship, your family, your community, people around you, anything of that nature. Most often it's mostly just like focused on the here and now. What do I want right now? What do I want really soon after that? And how do I get those things? It's like, no, what's the long-term work that you need to do to be able to dig in, fix the rooted issues you have? And they're not going to be fixed perfectly. Like, by the time we're 20, we have whatever level of traumas we've had from our childhood that we carry with us. They're not going to go away. You're never going to get these things to go away. That's not the goal. It's how do I manage, deal with, and make myself better because of those things. So, like, I think this is really interesting because what I'm seeing here is, for some reason, I have a hard time pulling out very acute examples, but I love that you have acute examples, because then what I'm doing is I'm trying to think of where are those coming from, right? Like, what is the actual reasoning behind those, and what things should we be looking for? Because yeah, you could see the acute indicators, like I need to do my makeup for 10 hours, or I blow up out of nowhere. That's when we could talk about. But what made those happen, and how do you deal with those, right? So like red flags, great to know, but it's, are you dealing with them or are you not dealing with them? Those are going to make your success or failure long term.
I think that's probably the as far as I can tell, I think that's probably the best, if you had to sum it up, the best summary of this is, we've all got flaws.
Oh yeah.
Obviously. Is this person you're wanting to be with not only actively working on it, but going down into the deepest, darkest caves they can find and battling the boss down there? You know, are they fighting the dragon down in the pitch black?
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Are they bringing are they smart enough to bring flashlights with them, obviously, but are they going down into the caves?
Yep.
When you said blow up, did you mean like anger?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. If I could.
Let's go at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anger. Dated this girl. Second date we went on. Getting dinner. Ordered food, waiting for the food to get there. I was going through a really rough patch. In 1 month's time, there was like 3-4 big life things, negative things that I found out about. A lot to do with family, health, mental states, something with myself. Just, it was a bad month. And so as we're waiting for the food, I'm sitting there, I kind of get lost in thought, because this is all brand new. I'm going over it, you know. And we weren't talking. It was like I just tuned out of a conversation. Like we were just sitting there relaxing, you know. And I kind of zoned out. And what would have been best for me, or like the ideal partner for me, would have been like, what are you thinking about? Oh, do you want to talk about it? Like, you know, like truly caring about what's going on.
Yeah.
Instead, what this individual did is, as best as I can remember, they went, "What are you doing?" Like, it was like, and the tone and I was like, "What?" And they're like, "You're supposed to be paying attention to me. If you're not going to pay attention to me, you could just take me home." This is the second time we had met. Like, well, when we met, it was very brief, and I got their contact information through someone else. Went on one date, had a great time. This was at the beginning of the second date. We'd only known each other for a total of like 3-4 weeks. Talked very little on the phone leading into these things. And I was like, okay, that was weird. Should have known then and there. That's how the entire relationship was.
Yep.
And it was the worst relationship in my life.
Sure.
It was the only, I don't want to say the only. It was bad, psychologically bad. I think it was the only abusive relationship, and I don't know.
No, that's accurate. That's accurate.
Yeah,
I think I think anger is a huge one, right? Like that is a really, really good red flag. And this is, I'll speak for both men and women here. So just being the male species, what I'm seeing from women when they blow up at me, it doesn't give us an opportunity to invite into a conversation. It gets us into a defensive mode, right? Like, you are now exploding at me, therefore I need to wall up and defend. How do I deal with this barrage of anger? There's healthy ways to do that. There's unhealthy ways to do that. But regardless, it doesn't put us in an advantageous communicative spot, right? And then I think for women especially, holy crap, I used to tell ladies this all the time. If you have an emotional man, that's problematic. Now, I'm not saying to be devoid of emotion. Emotion's awesome. You need to be able to have it. In fact, lack of it is not useful. But if you have an overly uncontrolled emotional man, even if it's like he's extremely loving, caring, does all the extra things for you, and then he'll cry every once in a while, whatever, to me that's actually an indicator, because that person is not stable and they will freak out. And when they do, they are more likely to be the physically or verbally abusive men. By my experience, anyways.
The guys who are easily hurt.
Yep. If you have really, really acute emotions as a male, again, not a bad thing to share your emotions. I love to do it. It's quite liberating to do. But if it's uncontrolled and just pure gut level emotional response, you're going to have some serious issues. It's of the two species or genders. Species. It feels like it at times. Of the two genders, the male should, in general, be more in control of his emotions. Just flat out. It just is that way. It feels like it's an oversimplification, but it's something. It's something to note.
Yeah, what's the part of the brain that connects the two hemispheres?
Corpus callosum.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think I haven't read a lot of the literature and data on it, but I believe in general women have a larger corpus callosum, which is why their emotions tend to run. That's why, like, when they think about this, it's tied into a lot of other thoughts, whereas guys are more easily able to separate,
compartmentalize things,
emotions and logic. Yeah, but then you get a guy, and I, speaking from experience, I'm a pretty emotional guy. You know this. Yeah, you gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. They're the type of guys who get hurt really easy. They get hurt an 8 out of 10 when it should be like a 2 out of 10, and then they're the guys that follow you and stalk you.
The physically, emotionally, verbally abusive guys.
Blow up your phone all the time, and that's on the light end of things.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Dudes be crazy.
But so do ladies.
Yeah, people be crazy.
It's really just a lot of self-awareness, man. I think we all have a story we come from. We all have an area of life that is not perfect of ours. Some of us more so than others. I think family is a great starting point to get a good understanding to. One time I had somebody, I think it was a family member of mine, tell me, hey, understand that when you're getting married, you're also marrying their family.
Yeah.
And that was, I think most of us hear that, but it really is true, okay? Whether or not you're even around that family, the person you are marrying is that family, and they're bringing it into it.
Yeah, because likely, if there's problems in your relationship, they'll be going to their family for advice. Like, what kind of advice are they getting?
Yeah.
Quick little point in there to add: how do they treat their family?
Yes.
How do they treat their friends?
Yep. That's completely accurate. That's all. Sum it all up in there. I think we all are damaged, broken individuals. We all have the ability to deal with it in a healthy manner. It takes time and effort. It is not an easy thing to do. It takes a lot of willpower, and not that you can just brute force through everything, but as a whole, there's a lot of red flags you can see in anybody. It's, are we dealing with them or are we ignoring them? Those are your real indicators right there. So if you see anything that might be problematic in a relationship, take a moment to assess, are they aware of this thing? Are they trying to deal with this thing? And are they actually doing it, or are they saying they're doing it? Those are two different things. If someone is not dealing with it, that is what you should probably understand will fail your relationship.
All right. And we're out of time.
Perfect.
All right, dude.
Thanks, bud. Love you too.